borders, no crime. Their issue is open borders. Let MS-13 all over our country.
The immigration story is not slowing down. Tensions running high as protests take over the border.
Why are you stopping the bus?
There's no reason for them to do this to the children. These people have these children in the bus like criminals. They haven't committed any crimes.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders went to dinner in Lexington, Virginia at a restaurant called the Red Hen. Apparently, the owner came up to her and asked her if she would leave.
There is a cost to being an accomplice to this cruel, deceitful administration.
Political debate has devolved into political harassment and outright political abuse.
Disgraced former FBI Director James Comey now says he's so ashamed of America, he thought about posing as a Canadian.
Canada would probably take him. He should apply.
Saskatchewan's nice. You can go there.
We're just getting warmed up, just getting started, already fired up. Yeah, this party ain't nothing like it round here.
The last bit is because James Comey was traveling to Ireland, and he said he didn't want to admit that he was an American. He preferred to pretend he was a Canadian.
He said he was ashamed.
Yeah, he was ashamed of America.
Yeah.
Is anybody ashamed of what he did as FBI director? Just one.
Nobody, not one person.
No
One
one.
bit.
On either side of the aisle.
No.
No one's ashamed.
I bet Canada has an FBI equivalent, right?
For sure.
He could run it.
I'm not sure
If
they
they
make
want
it
lots
for
of
Call your
leaks.
friend Justin.
Yeah,
Justin
Justin
of
from
Canada.
Canada. You've got a new candidate to run the FBI in Canada. His name is Jim from Canada.
Oh, gosh. Good morning to all of you. Happy Sunday
Start
morning.
that hashtag Comey to Canada.
Comey to Canada.
People
Why
want
not?
to send you that. They'll pay for the ticket.
Will they?
Let's
bet you.
GoFundMe.
Our viewers will-
That
will-
GoFundMe
yeah.
page, if we started it, in 10 minutes, he would
I
have
think
Comey will be on a
first
plane to
class
Canada.
tickets.
Hillary Clinton might pay for that ticket, too.
You know, Sarah Sanders, though, she wants to stay out of that. She's got enough on her hands.
Yeah.
She is fighting every single day at that podium. for
Yeah,
sure.
that is what we are starting with this morning. And that's what happened on Friday night. She went to a restaurant with 7 people, just a nice dinner out with family, friends. She's got a very demanding job, a restaurant called the Red Hen. She was asked by the owner during her dinner to leave the restaurant. Apparently, she got a vote from the employees, and they all agreed
They actually
to
did take a
kick
vote.
her out. So here's what Sarah Sanders tweeted about it. She said, "Last night, I was told by the owner of Red Hen in Lexington, Virginia, to leave because I work for POTUS, and I politely left. Her actions say far more about her than about me. I always do my best to treat people, including those I disagree with, respectfully, and will continue to do so."
So the owner of the Red Hen in Lexington, Virginia, as you can see, it's a small farm-to-table establishment. Stephanie Wilkinson had this.
He says dismissive.
Well, I prefer McDonald's, Burger King, Chipotle. Anyway,
$28 for a pan-seared pork chop.
is that what it is?
Yeah, yeah, very fancy. pants.
Fancy pants. This is what she had to say about this restaurant and kicking out Sarah Huckabee. She said, "I explained that the restaurant has certain standards that I feel it has to uphold, such as honesty and compassion and cooperation. I said, I'd like to ask you to leave. Absolutely, yes, I would have done the same thing again," the Red Hen owner said. "We just felt there are moments in time when people need to live their convictions. This one appeared to be
She said that to the Washington Post, and I can guarantee this woman is going to be out and about in the media because she's going to double down on this, and a lot of
For 15
outlets
minutes.
probably agree with what she did there.
Sure.
Said we need more of
Standards
that.
for a restaurant. I love. There was a time in America when standards for a restaurant had to do with their food and their service, not like they're taking a stand against president. And in fact,
Exactly right.
historic downtown Lexington, Virginia, they have a Facebook page, and the person who runs that says, "quote Shame on the Red Hen restaurant," and owner Stephanie Wilkinson, who is also director of Main Street Lexington, basically, quote, "How dare you embarrass our town and give Lexington a bad reputation." They add on this Facebook page, quote, "Mr. President Trump and Secretary Sarah Sanders, we sincerely apologize for the poor behavior." And by the way, I mentioned last hour we were talking about comparisons to the whole situation about baking a cake for a gay wedding. And viewers are pointing out to me that the bakery, and I checked it out, the head of that bakery has said that he did not discriminate against gay people and not serve them.
Yeah.
He said, "You come
No, that's
in,
right.
buy a cake, but I don't want to design a gay wedding on the top." Just as he claimed, I didn't want to design, someone wanted a divorce cake, and he was against divorce. Someone wanted to do an anti-American cake, and he just felt, I don't want to do something that's anti-America, but I'll serve you. I won't say, get out of my bakery. And there is a difference there.
But
This
either way-
restaurant is saying, you work for President Trump, get out. I'm going to discriminate.
We will not
Either
serve
way,
you.
though, it's a private company. You're able to
you have
do
the freedom,
what
sure.
you want to do. The question is, Is that the decent thing to do? Is that how you want to handle the situation? I would have loved for this owner to sit across the table from Sarah Sanders, use that opportunity to talk to her, get to know her, say, why do you feel the way that you do? Because I can promise you, and I know Sarah Huckabee Sanders, she's a very kind woman. She's a mother of 3. And as you've all seen, a very strong woman, and has continued to get attacked time and time again. But she's got thoughts of her own. You know, her job is representing the administration. But just like all of us, you don't agree with everybody on every single thing that they do and say she is their own person.
If she does agree with everything the president does.
I'm just saying she's her own person. I don't
of
think
course she's her own person, but when you defend administration, you are that administration. It just is what it is. Yeah. But you make a great point. Like these anthem kneelers, the folks that won't go to the White House when they win the championship, you can't have a conversation with a guy you won't talk to. And so when you're sitting on the sidelines, you're saying walk out. Imagine if this owner apparently pulled Sarah Huckabee Sanders aside and said, sorry, you're going to have to leave. And she was very polite and classy as she is and did. But you could have pulled her aside and said, can I steal 5 minutes of your time? Like, I'm not a big fan of this administration. Walk me through why you think this way or why you're doing that. Here's my opinion. Yeah. It's so easy, but this is the consequence of left-wing leadership. Really, when the leaders of the left are screaming resist, as our next clip will show, the rank and file start to think it's their job to resist on a Friday night in a small restaurant.
It becomes not just one restaurant. It becomes a mob mentality. Yes. And Maxine Waters, the congresswoman from California, has made a lot of money while she's been in office, by the way. I wonder how that happened. She basically says...
she could afford the pork chop?
Yeah, she can afford that pork chop. And she basically says, impeach 45. When she's not saying that, she's now saying, look out, Trump officials. If you want to go to a department store, we're going to prevent that too. Watch.
I have no sympathy for these people who, know it's wrong what they're doing on so many fronts. These members of his cabinet who remain and try to defend him, they're not going to be able to go to a restaurant. The people are going to turn on them. They're going to protest. They're going to absolutely harass them until they decide that they're going to tell the president, no, I can't hang with you.
Hey, at least she's telling the truth. She's saying, we want to harass people. So now Maxine Waters, as an African-American leader in this country, is saying we want to harass people. That's one of her roles, is that we want to harass. What are you talking about? You're pro-harassment? You go after people?
There are some
do
folks...
they hear the words coming out of their mouth?
They do, and I think they're proud of those words. There are some people in this country that are demonizing anyone who is remotely associated with President Trump.
Kirsten Nielsen was trying to have dinner the other night.
Not just people on his administration, but it's people that even voted for President Trump. We heard that from Donnie Deutsch just a couple days ago. It's demonizing.
Like
and here is Kirsten Nielsen, who was trying to have dinner at a Mexican restaurant a couple nights ago. And as you saw, obviously couldn't really enjoy that, ended up having to leave.
Screaming and apparently, I think the owner there was okay with that as well. I mean, so wait, if I believe in building the wall, then I can't eat Chipotle? Somehow, it's unbelievable. Everything has been mixed up and become political in a place where let's have our debates and our discussions. But my goodness, where's the gray space? Are you going to harass Sarah Huckabee Sanders if she goes to her kid's football game or t-ball game?
You know what? I'm sure.
Where does it end?
That Sarah Sanders gets harassed wherever she goes. This is one that was very public and one that she tweeted about. But I can guarantee that she goes places all the times and things are said to her, things are said to her family, and she handles it every single time with class. I also believe that this country is full of some amazing people.
Absolutely.
A lot of them are our viewers, and they want decency in this country, and they know that that's not the way you handle something.
Friends at FoxNews.com. We're going to read some of your emails.
If you were a Tea Party member back when you were not happy with what Obama was doing in 2009, were you harassing people in their private businesses or outside their homes and screaming at them? No, you were protesting peacefully and then picking up your trash after the protest.
It's a lack of class. But I tell you, somebody who does have class is Griff Jenkins.
He really
down on the border for us. And tensions have been running high as protests practically take over the border.
Democrats visit a detention center for immigrant children as the Trump administration reveals plans to reunite all their kids with their families.
Griff Jenkins is live in McAllen, Texas this morning after going toe-to-toe with some of those Democrats. Griff, it got fiery yesterday.
It did. It got out of control, guys. Good morning. Really, there were about 200 protesters bust in from San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, and Austin. They're with the LULAC organization. And at one point, the protesters here in front of the processing center surrounded a bus. One protester in particular trying to stop the bus with his bare hands. Take a listen to what happened. Why are you stopping the bus?
This is to make a point that they need to leave children alone. This is not the America that we fought for and died for. My community has fought. There's no reason for them to do this to these children. These people have these children in a bus like criminals. They haven't committed any crime.
Do you have a message for President Trump?
We're coming for him in 2020, and we're coming for his Congress in 2018.
Now, earlier in the day, guys, there were about 25 Democratic lawmakers. A delegation came down here, toured the facility, came out, told us what they thought. And one of them, Shelley Pingree of Maine, had a message for President Trump.
Stop the chaos. Just get some reasonable policy. Let us all, as members of Congress, be a part of it. Stop telling Congress not to pass concrete immigration reform. We can fix this system.
Now, as far as the family reunification goes, the DHS says they have reunited 500 families and have a plan in place to reunite the remaining 2,000. And just a side note, guys, if I could share, in talking to the Border Patrol agents here off camera, they will tell you that this emphasis on family reunification has now added to their duties and taken away resources from doing the actual enforcement down on the border.
Good point.
Back to you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Griff, for the reporting.
Great reporting, Griff. Thank you so much.
Good stuff.
All right, a lot going on this morning. I do want to bring you some other headlines, and we begin with a Fox News alert. 2 police officers ambushed in an overnight shootout. Emergency personnel were called to a condominium near San Diego for reports of smoke. A gunman dressed in body armor shot at authorities through a wall, according to local reports there. One officer took a life-threatening gunshot to the chest, while the other was hit in the shoulder and is expected to be okay. The gunman is now dead, but it's unclear if he died from police or shot himself. And the DOJ says it has turned over new classified documents related to the Russia investigation. Congressman Mark Meadows, however, tweeting, quote, "New reports of DOJ FBI compliance with document requests are not accurate. While they have turned over additional documents, the new documents represent a small percentage of what they owe. The notion that DOJ FBI have been forthcoming with Congress is false." House leaders have threatened to hold justice officials in contempt of Congress or even impeach them if they do not cooperate. And a historic win for women's rights overseas. Saudi Arabia officially lifting the world's only ban on female drivers today. The government now allowing women to get behind the wheel after decades of protests. They will no longer have to rely on public transportation or hire male drivers. Wow, that is a very big move.
Major.
About time. How about that?
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Well, congressional candidate Katie Arrington is seriously injured in a fatal car crash. The South Carolina state representative now set to undergo surgery this morning. South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster here to react and give us an update next.
Big story. We'll have an update. Plus, turns out millennials are among the worst tippers. It could end up.
No surprise.
Well, and you know what? It might boomerang. Could end up costing them their jobs. We have the inside story coming up. Carolina State Rep Katie Arrington was seriously injured in a deadly car accident in South Carolina. Arrington is scheduled to undergo another surgical procedure this morning.
To all of those affected by this accident, know that you're in our prayers for a swift recovery. Katie, we look forward to seeing you back on the campaign trail real soon. God bless you.
That was Vice President Pence yesterday at a rally with South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster, who joins us now live. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, sir.
We appreciate you joining us. We're going to get to politics in a moment, but of course, we want to start with this story breaking overnight. Can you please tell us about candidate Katie Arrington? Well, it looks like they're working on your hair there. you look just fine. By the way, you look just fine, Governor. Maybe they didn't know we were live. It happens on TV occasionally. But let's talk about... Right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, she's undergoing surgery, as I understand it, this morning. She was hurt in a two-car accident. There was a car apparently coming the wrong way on the highway at night, Friday night. And I've spoken to her husband, Rob, and her opponent has suspended his campaign. And Vice President Pence addressed the issue yesterday, and we're pulling for Katie. She's a real fighter, and she'll be a fighter in Congress for the people of South Carolina. And we've got our fingers crossed, but we know she's going to pull through. And and she'll do great work for South Carolina and for the country.
And her office put out this tweet that Katie Arrington remains in critical but stable condition, scheduled to undergo another major surgical procedure tomorrow morning. She remains humbled, encouraged, and deeply moved by the outpouring of support and prayers being offered from across the country. You can see that hashtag. The people can certainly join in. Pray for Katie. She, of course, had beaten Mark Sanford in that very tense Republican primary. As we set the stage for your own race on Tuesday, what are you urging Republicans to do, not just in the wake of Katie's unfortunate accident as people rally behind her, but about Republicans in the party down there in South Carolina trying to come together?
Well, we're not as divided as we seem to be nationally. South Carolina's on the move. We're having great economic growth. Just since I've been in office, I've announced $6 billion in new capital investment and almost 21,000 new jobs. And part of that, of course, is part of what the president is doing. We're doing the same things here and having the kind of growth he's having all over the country. It's quite remarkable. But that sort of spirit, that kind of happiness and hope and that kind of growth is very exciting. And of course, we want, back to your question, we want people to pray for Katie. But we want people to look to the future and understand that we have a very bright future. The president has changed everything. His presence, what he's doing, he's keeping his promises, and it's making a difference for the people of our state, for the country, and for the world.
Let's talk about that, Governor, because what's happening is on Tuesday you have this runoff against businessman John Warren. Neither of you had gotten 50% in the recent primary. The president's rallying behind you. He's going to be there on Monday. Vice President Pence, as I mentioned, was there yesterday. Talk about that partnership. The president facing criticism for all sides right now. What are you seeing on the ground in terms of some of the promises he's kept? What kind of impact that's having in your state?
Well, it's having an enormous impact. He has done everything he said he was going to do. You could just tick him off with 1, 2, 3 with the cutting taxes, making America great again. But in South Carolina, he's very, very popular. I mean, there's very little criticism of him here, because we know he's doing what he said he's going to do, and he's doing the things that we want him to do. We love him. And the people are thrilled that he's coming. We're thrilled to see Vice President Pence. The president's been here before. He's campaigned here. I campaigned all over South Carolina for him. He is the greatest. He's making America great again. And we're doing the same thing with South Carolina.
Governor, appreciate you coming on. Obviously, you got a great head of hair as well. I don't know why the hair and makeup team felt like they had to do extra work on you, but good luck on Tuesday, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care. The political divide in our country reaching new lows. Sarah Sanders kicked out of a restaurant, as we mentioned, because she works for the president. And Seth Rogen bragging about berating Paul Ryan.
Paul Ryan was walking towards me. And he said, "Can I have a picture with you?" And I said, "No way, man."
I said, "No way, man." So is there any way, man, to take back civility? Our political panel is going to weigh in, man. Next.
That is how much an iconic Star Wars weapon sold for at a Las Vegas auction. Ripley's Believe It or Not bought Han Solo's blast from the movie Return of the Jedi. Next 5, that is how many children Fixer-Upper stars Chip and Joanna Gaines now have after welcoming a baby boy. The new mom sharing photos of the newborn named Crew. This comes just months after wrapping on the 5th and final season of their hit HGTV show. And finally, number 1, that is how high this English bulldog ranked at the 30th annual World's Ugliest Dog Contest. 9-year-old Zaza, seen right here, won with the judges' votes with his tongue that almost drags to the floor. The California event shows that all animals deserve a loving home. And there is no such thing as an ugly dog.
I don't know, Abby, that's a pretty ugly dog right there.
No.
I'm going to have to agree. All right, well, moving on, the political divide in our country now reaching new lows. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders kicked out of a restaurant Friday night just for working for President Trump, while actor Seth Rogen refuses to take a photo with former Speaker Paul Ryan and berates him in front of his children. But is there any way to reverse the personal attacks and get back to, disagreeing respectfully? Let's ask our panel, former Clinton staffer and founder of theflipside.io, Anafi Wahed, GOP Councilman Joe Borelli, and former criminal defense attorney Emily Compagno, which I got it, I think. Emily, right? Ish?
Yes,
Thank you.
got it.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Emily, so I'll start with you. Public confrontations of people in front of their kids in restaurants, is this what the resistance has come to?
It seems like it is, and I think what's so troubling to us is that it's so hypocritical for the reasons that the left purports that the right is so repulsive to them, which is intolerance and an alienation, a refusal to engage, is exactly what they're demonstrating. And what saddens me, too, is that the platforms that and the opportunity that those people refuse to take, really all it does is does a disservice to everyone else. Like, for example, Seth Rogen, that was at an Alzheimer's event. He could have used that platform to say, Speaker Ryan, I would love to discuss more about Alzheimer's, and then take a photo together and then say, at least this we can agree on, and let's call awareness to this philanthropic endeavor and this science aspect that needs research. But instead, it's a lost opportunity to engage and discuss, and again, further what should be respectful discourse.
Joe, how much of this responsibility falls on Democratic or left-wing leadership? I mean, they're screaming resist. They're screaming impeach 45. Then you see rank-and-file folks who own restaurants mirroring that conduct.
We shouldn't be surprised. I mean, essentially, when you disagree with someone on the left, it's instant excommunication, whether it's Chick-fil-A or the Red Hen or wherever. This is the problem. They are dehumanizing people who are Republicans, right? There was a controversy last week about the border, difference of opinion, we all get that. But Republicans weren't just wrong because they had a bad policy. They were compared to Nazis. They were compared to terrorists. ICE was a terrorist agency all of a sudden. It shouldn't be a surprise when we see regular liberal business owners not even think twice about, discriminating someone because of political beliefs.
Yeah. Anafi, now you say there's a bit of a difference between what happened to Seth Rogen and what happened to Sarah Sanders. Why?
I do. So I take your point that Seth Rogen did not behave in the way we would hope that celebrities use their status to actually benefit their own cause. But in one case, we have Seth Rogen, who is exercising his freedom of expression, or not to in this case. As we all know, a single photo can actually generate 1,000 op-eds. So if he didn't want to be seen endorsing Paul Ryan, I think that's different from a business refusing service to a group of people because of their political beliefs. That, to me, is a slippery slope.
It's a slippery slope that leads
Absolutely.
Where? I mean, is this something that liberals have seen from conservatives, or are we seeing it now because they hate Trump so much they do anything they can at any level?
Certainly, there is an outrage machine on both sides, and I do think we are getting closer and closer every day to the brink. I think, unfortunately, the lesson many people took from the 2016 election on the left is that half the country is somehow narrow-minded or bigoted, instead of asking ourselves the hard question, which is, how can we do better? How can we better appeal so that we don't have to always go to the negative and say these people are evil, and instead say, here's why we think we are right.
They are blinded by hatred. Your competitor, Morning Joe, put out a tweet this week saying, maybe if you support Trump, you're not a racist yourself, but you support a racist. Imagine if you said that you would be ashamed of yourself. Your family would be ashamed of yourself. This is the level which it has come to. You can't just like President Trump or think he's doing a good job. You are evil. You are wrong if you support him.
Thankfully, not many people watch Morning Joe, so that's a good thing. Emily, in this, Kirstjen Nielsen, another example of someone who's been confronted in public, the DHS secretary, at a restaurant, screamed at outside of her home, protesters going at her. Here's a picture of what happened to her at a Mexican restaurant. Of course, everyone pointing out the so-called irony that how could she be at a Mexican restaurant with the policies they pursued at the border? Is there any way to separate, shouldn't we be able to separate the private opportunity for people to have a meal and the policies that they're pursuing?
You would absolutely think so. And I also think that the perspective has been reduced to such a single-dimensional viewpoint. I mean, Saudi Arabia just lifted their ban on women drivers on Friday, and now we have the media dissecting the First Lady's jacket. And these issues have been reduced to a single photograph or a single soundbite, when to me they're so much more complex and nuanced. Again, that engagement would really foster a benefit to everyone, because every issue has so much more to it. Instead, it's reduced to yelling shame, again, at her at a restaurant. I also point out, too, that a lot of these vociferous protests lately have been directed towards female GOP participants and elected officials. And to me, that kind of screams again of the hypocrisy of those engaged.
Very interesting point. Would the same conduct ever be tolerated against female members of the Obama administration or Obama himself? I think the question answers itself. All of you, thank you very much for this very nuanced, thoughtful discussion. Appreciate it.
For having us.
Maybe the rest of the country can learn. All right, well, the insanity continues. Amazon employees compare ICE contract to working for Hitler. Good tippers. The rest of them aren't. I don't know why, but we'll tell you.
good throw.
Where's the trophy?
Even in a seersucker suit, Pete Hegseth wins.
And where's the trophy? It was kind of an impromptu contest.
No, it was not a whole contest.
Somehow
it was just a play.
Oh,
it was
peddling,
a play.
peddling.
I feel like
no, it was a play.
You tried to bump and run me there. With a little contact inside 5 yards.
You know what's funny? I made the mistake of not turning around.
It's true.
If I had looked for the ball.
Marvin put it, on the money.
He's an NFL.
He is
great.
He's a
I
star.
appreciate that, though. You actually admit when you do something wrong or you could have done it better. Mean more than
You should try it sometime.
Only if we have videotape, though. If there's no videotape, he'll never admit it.
Yeah.
I don't know where the trophy is. Maybe they'll bring it in.
No, it's not a whole game. Not a whole game.
It's
Just
being
a play.
shined right
You
now.
know it counts.
I lost a play.
Well, I missed one shot and I lost a contest. You know?
Well, that was different.
It's fair and balanced. We'll let you decide.
Let us know. Friends at FoxNews.com.
Well, we've got another story for you here. So Amazon, you know of Amazon. You order things from them. They're a massive company. Well, their employees have gotten together because Amazon has some government contracts. They work with contractors in the Defense Department as well as, turns out, ICE.
Which means Trump administration.
Trump, exactly. So over 100 employees at Amazon got together and wrote a letter and sent it to the CEO, Jeff Bezos. This is what the employees of Amazon wrote, some of them. As ethically concerned Amazonians, that's a thing.
That's the headline.
We demand a choice in what we build and a say in how it is used. We learn from history and we understand how IBM's systems were employed in the 1940s to help Hitler.
Oh, gosh.
IBM did not take responsibility then, and by the time their role was understood, it was too late. We will not let that happen again. The time to act is now. In the break, guys, I said it. It feels like I can't go one segment without mentioning Hitler or the Nazis
It's true.
to how they
I
refer.
thought we learned in the past that whenever you use that word or compare it to anything, it is a very bad place to be.
It is, and people have just gone right there. And so basically, you're doing business with the U.S. government at all. You're complicit, as you said earlier about the restaurant. You're complicit in the Trump administration's policies, and then by extension, you're a Nazi.
Yeah.
And they just make that leap. It's absurd.
By the way, you think about ICE. I feel for the Border Patrol, people that are on the border and people that work at ICE that are trying to. It's a very, very complicated situation, as we all know, on that border. They're doing their job. Right, they're there to serve this country.
They're doing it in sanctuary cities where local authorities won't cooperate with them, even with violent criminals. These guys are going in and doing the tough job made more difficult for them every single day. And then they're compared to Nazi and Hitler's. And as you said, you can't even have a discussion with folks then. So once you tell me that I'm racist or a Nazi, like, how do we talk?
It's a conversation ender right there.
Ender. It's very tolerant.
And that's what we talked about on the show yesterday, is we can't even have conversations anymore.
Well, we can.
We can. We can.
But think about all these employees who signed this letter. They read what it said, presumably, before they signed it. And they still signed it.
I would hope so. I would hope you read. Before you send it to the CEO of the company that you work for, I'd hope that you edit the letter 10 different times before you send it. We haven't heard yet from Jeff Bezos or how they're going to handle that situation. But, yeah, send us your thoughts on that one as well. It's a crazy time. All right. There is a lot of news going on this morning. I do want to bring you some of those headlines. New details reveal a woman begged her boyfriend to call off a YouTube prank just moments before the deadly stunt. Mona Lisa Perez tried to get out of shooting him in the chest, but fame seeker Pedro Ruiz said an encyclopedia in front of his chest would save him. We are now seeing the chilling video before his death. Watch this.
I'm pretty much ready to go to heaven right now. He probably won't accept me into the pearly gates because how stupid this is, but I have confidence that my girlfriend will hit the book and not me.
Oh my goodness. Perez was convicted of manslaughter and agreed to serve 180 days in jail.
Unreal.
All right, President Trump hits the campaign trail backing Nevada's Republican Senator Dean Heller. His opponent is Democratic Senate candidate Jackie Rosen, the president dubbing her with a new nickname while speaking at the state's GOP convention yesterday. Take a listen.
That's what they call her, Wacky Jackie. That's what you want for your senator? She wants to raise taxes. She's campaigning with Elizabeth Warren, sometimes referred to affectionately, of course, as Pocahontas.
Well, Rosen firing right back, saying, quote, the president is attacking me with lies and petty insults because I'm not afraid to stand up to him. And a highway named for a Confederate leader is renamed. The Jefferson Davis Highway will soon become the Richmond Highway. The Alexandria, Virginia City Council voted unanimously for that change. This comes as part of a national push to rename and take down monuments and tributes recognizing Confederate leaders. The move goes into effect January 1st.
I heard the best way to learn from history is to erase it.
All right, well, tipping people in the service industry could soon be a thing of the past.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
One of my favorite movies. All right, well, a new study saying that millennials riddled in debt are among the worst tippers.
Wow.
Some restaurants are looking to remove the tipping custom, paying a flat base salary instead. That's according to the New York Post. The report says this could scrap tipping altogether.
Oh,
are you guys good tippers?
Yeah, I always try to be.
I try to be.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a very American convention, though, and actually a big sign of generosity. It's like if you give me good service, you deserve a lot, not a little extra, a lot extra.
What if they
on
don't
top.
do a good job?
Then they don't. Then they don't.
They don't.
I mean, still get a tip, but it's not going to be.
I
like
bet Rick is a good tipper.
A
He's
mega
generous,
tip.
generous
Have you
person.
guys been waiters?
No.
None of you?
No.
Well, we work
No,
at a
I worked
diners.
I did work at the Gap once.
The Gap. If you've been a waiter, which I have for a long time, then I think you become a better tipper.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you think? Are you guys good tippers?
Oh, yes, very good tippers.
Would you like for tips to go away?
No.
No. You
No.
want to keep tips.
Yes,
you want
I
to
do.
keep tips as part of the system.
Yes, I do. I think it's great.
All right, there you go. That's the definitive answer. Right here from Massachusetts. We appreciate it. Thank you. Let's talk about the weather. Here's your maps as you're waking up this morning. Severe weather today right across areas of the Central Plains, really Tornado Alley. See that darkest orange spot there? That's where we could be seeing some tornadoes later on today. Oklahoma City back towards Woodward and Guyman. Kind of stretches all the way up towards around Norfolk, Nebraska. Across parts of the Northeast today, scattered showers. Down across parts of the southeast, more scattered showers. In towards the northern plains, there you go. The severe weather and showers. You get the idea, guys. A lot of storms out there for pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
True.
All right, thank you, Rick.
By the way, the best tipper in the world, Sean Hannity. No joke.
Yeah.
We were in
Really?
Singapore. He took the entire team out basically every day. He tipped everybody like 30, 40% every day. All right. As the debate over immigration rages on, our next guest is living proof the American dream is still alive and well. An immigrant from Argentina joins us live to share the story of how his family came to the U.S. legally.
One man who immigrated legally from Argentina is living proof that the American dream is still alive and well. Lucas Ramirez legally immigrated with his family to the U.S. when he was 6 years old. You can see the picture right there. Now he is working to raise the next generation of leaders, showing them all the opportunities our country has to offer. Here with more, Lucas Ramirez, CEO of The Gathering Place and author of Designed for More, Unleashing Christ's Vision for Unity in a Deeply Divided World. Lucas, it is great to have you on with us this morning.
It is so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So timely as this country continues to debate immigration and how we move forward. Tell us your story. As I said, you came over at 6 years old. How did your family do it? Why did they want to be here?
Yeah, so it was a really hard decision for my parents because we had a family of six and we were really, really poor. I mean, it was a family of six living on about an income of $25,000 a year. I remember being a child and have these memories of driving in the car and my mom telling me to lift my legs when we would drive over puddles because water would come up, under the car through the rust. And so overcoming challenges like that to create a new frontier for our family was a vision that my parents had. But moving to this country was one of the greatest gifts that they truly could have given me because the opportunities that have opened up have just been wonderful. And so I'm blessed to have received so much and now give back through my role at the Gathering Place and raising up the next generation of leaders.
And you guys did it legally. What was that process like? In your book, you talk about it takes time.
Yeah.
You had to wait for it.
Yeah. So, I was 6 years old, and so I was along for the ride. My parents, they could have done it a little bit faster, as I'm told the story, a little 3-month process to do some paperwork, but they chose a little bit of a longer route. I remember waiting as a kid, this anticipation. We waited 2.5 years to come, and they did it that way to keep our family together and all come. And we came to Philly and called Philadelphia home. for many, many years.
That's a great place to start.
Yeah.
That's where I was born as well. What is your message
yeah.
for people that are coming over the border, that, aren't necessarily going through the proper channels? They who knows, all situations and conditions are very different, but do you have a message this morning of how they should be thinking about it?
So, all I can say is my story. And I'm so thankful for my parents. And, just sharing it with you now, I'm not sure if I've ever actually said that to my parents. So actually, Mom and Dad, if you're watching, I want to thank you so much for bringing us here, because it's been an unbelievable gift. And all I can say to them is that my parents had a vision that they executed and brought us together in a powerful way, in a way that leveraged the true power of this country, and that was it's a really cool story.
It's people like you, though, that make this country so great. You come here, you're proud to be here, you want to be here, and you want to make this country a better place.
Yeah, and it's a complicated issue, and I have a lot of compassion for everybody involved, from the families to law enforcement to policymakers. It is complicated, and I through this book, I'm wanting to be a voice for the unity that we so desperately need to find the solutions to the issues. Yeah. So often we just stay in our echo chambers, and the solution is within reach, but until we can come together across our diverse perspectives, then we will find the solutions that we're all so desperately longing for.
Yeah. Lucas Ramirez, it's a message we all needed to hear today.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you being here. The book
Thank
is
you.
Designed for More.
Yes.
It's one that everyone should pick up and read, just to get a better understanding of your life and things that we can do better.
Yes, indeed.
To provide unity. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you.
All right, coming up on the show, Sarah Sanders kicked out of a restaurant just because she works for the president. But Ana Navarro says that she should expect to be treated like that.
There is a cost to being an accomplice to this cruel, deceitful administration.
Is there an end to this mom mentality against the Trump administration? Is there an end in sight? And it is time to fire up the grills. If you're looking for a new one before the 4th of July, we have got you covered. How to pick the best one? Pete will help you out, too. I'm sure he's going to be eating. Coming up soon.
We're going up around the bend. You can bond the perpetual motion. It's your mind on a Christmas.
Well, summer is here, and of course, July 4th is just around the corner. Are you looking for a new grill to up your grilling game?
Well, Pete always is, and Consumer Reports has tested 150 grills for every single budget. And here with 4 of the best, Senior Home and Garden Director and Editor Paul Hope. Good to see you.
Nice to see you
so
guys.
Let's walk it through. I understand this is more, is this the budget model?
Sure. So this is a great all-around value. We do really extensive testing on these grills. We look for evenness of heating, how fast they preheat, whether they can cook over indirect heat. This model does all three really well.
Too?
Unofficially, we do. Unofficially, we do. We don't weigh that. It's actually super scientific. We wire them with thermocouples and check the temperature from one spot to another.
So what makes this one stand out?
This one is a really even heating grill. It preheats quickly, and it's a mid-size, which means it holds anywhere from 18 to 28
so it's from
hamburgers.
Next Grill.
From Next Grill,
Next
and that's
Grill.
about 207.
And it's gas.
It's gas.
Okay,
it's
great.
Now, before we get to the next one,
$270.
Paul, you did commit a party foul on Fox and Friends. You brought 4 grills and no meat.
I did.
We'll forgive you. We'll forgive you. Tell us about the Weber.
Weber's a big name.
So Weber's obviously a big name. The Genesis is sort of their flagship line. This is an $1,200 grill. It's a step up from the Next Grill. It really performs well in our testing. It heats evenly, it heats quickly.
What do you get for more money then?
What you get for more money is, one thing you get is really solid construction. We have a newly developed rigidity test that tests whether a grill will flex under pressure.
It's true, because in the wind it'll move and it'll slide. It could fault. Really, I've had that happen to
You're
grills.
moving it in and out every season. It flexes. It starts to fall apart.
All right,
it's a big
Broil
deal.
King.
Broil King. So
this is a beast right here.
It is. It is. This is a really top of the line grill. It's $12.99. It's got a built-in rotisserie. It's got really heavy-duty stainless steel grates. It's even got this little pull-out propane rack right here.
Nice.
It does really well in our tests, and this one will hold in our tests over 28 burgers.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and cook them all evenly. And
Better than the Weber? As good as the Weber?
On par with the Weber. Yep.
Now, how about this? You're looking at charcoal now.
We
as well,
are.
right?
So for the first time in about 50 years, we're testing charcoal grills. This one came out very near the top of our ratings. It's a model from Dynaglow.
Wow.
Some of the features we love on this guy here are with charcoal, it's all about control. So you can use this little door to add charcoal in. You can use the crank to raise and lower the coal bed. It even has a little flue on the top to control the airflow and the temperature that way. Yeah.
For the more sophisticated griller.
For the more
I'm not there
sophisticated
yet.
griller. Yeah, and you know, we've got grills from $100 to $3,200, all at Consumer Report.
Where do folks learn more? Consumer